Hello and welcome back to everyone to this YouTube channel. Today we are going to see Maharashtra State Board Class 8 Subject Science Chapter number 13 Chemical Change and Chemical Bond. When we talk about this particular words, chemical change is nothing but what first we will understand about this particular word, what exactly this means, and then we will go ahead in the chapter. If you remember in the lower standard, we had already studied about the chemical change and the physical change. I'm just revising all these two things what we have studied in a previous standards. When we talk about any particular change, suppose if I'm having a tumbler made up of a glass and someone is carrying it and unfortunately if that falls from the hand, what happens with that? That tumbler made up of a glass will broke in a number of pieces. It will get breaked up in a number of pieces or the multiple pieces. So that is a one change because we had a tumbler and now we have the small multiple pieces of the glass. On the other hand, when I am talking about raw mango, which is green in a color, and if we will keep it in a proper and the favorable conditions, then that raw mango will get ripe and the color will turn to yellow from the green and the even taste will also change. The sour taste of the raw mango will get the change to the sweet taste of the ripened mango. In those two examples, the first one which I had taken of the glass and the tumbler and the second one of a mango, these two are the two different kind of a changes. If I am talking about the first changes where the multiple pieces of a glass we are taking, we can melt that glass and recast into some other article. On the other hand, when we talk about the mango, we cannot change anything in that. Only what we can do, we can take a slice and we can eat. So here, when I'm talking about this two different kind of a changes, the one change we can reverse and the another change we cannot reverse. The one change is a temporary, one change is a permanent. Means what? The physical changes we can reverse by some means, by some process. Whereas the chemical change we cannot reverse. Once it's done means done. So in this particular topic we are going to study about the chemical change. What exactly is the meaning of a chemical change that I had explained with the example. The chemical changes are irreversible and they are permanent changes. Now the chemical change and word equations. When we talk about this chemical change we can write in the form of an equation. Like in a mathematics we are studying, no? A plus B is equal to 5, 10, like that the expressions, the equations we call them in a maths. That equations we are writing. Similarly, when we talk about the chemical part or the in a science, when we talk about the chemistry section or the where we deal with the chemicals, then that also we can write in the form of the word equations. Like here one of the example they have taken, that is a citric acid reacting with a sodium bicarbonate, or the sodium bicarbonate is added to the citric acid. So this is what the raw products or the components which are at the initial stage, and we call them as the reactants. We call them as a reactants because these two particular products or these two particular reactants are reacting together. They are getting mixed with each other and they go under the one process which we call as a chemical reaction. And then that is written as a carbon dioxide plus sodium citrate. Means these are the products. You can see here we have the arrow mark in between. This arrow mark indicates We are starting with this products and we are reaching at this particular products. Means this is your reactant. This side is a reactant and this side we have a products. Okay, reactant and product. Number of reactants are reacting together and forming the products on the other side. And this what we have written, this is called as a word equation. In a form of a words we are writing. Citric acid is reacting with a sodium bicarbonate and giving a product as a carbon dioxide and sodium citrate. So this is the names we are writing. And the another thing is, if we want to write it in a chemical reaction form, then we can even write their formulas. Formulas already we have studied how to write the formulas in a first in a chapters, the old videos. If you will go through in the reaction part or the chemical compound part, there you will find out how to write the chemical compound's name. Same way here, if we are writing the name of that chemical compound, then that will be called as a chemical reaction. So this is about the reactions, how to write them, which we call as a word equation, and the chemical reaction. Further is, when we talk about the chemical changes in everyday life, what are the chemical changes in our everyday life? In that, the first, when we talk about the chemical changes, we have the two types of the chemical changes. One as a natural changes. The one in that is a natural chemical change. In that, the first what happens in our day-to-day life, the first what we have to study is a respiration. Respiration is also one of the important chemical process in our life. When we talk about this respiration, which is a continuous process in the living organism, and when we inhale oxygen, process in which we inhale oxygen, and that oxygen will get converted into a carbon dioxide in the process which we call as a respiration. And that they have mentioned over here, you can see here, glucose plus oxygen goes under respiration and forms a carbon dioxide and water. If I will zoom it out, it will be much clearer to see. See here, glucose plus oxygen, respiration, carbon dioxide and water. So here, this one is a glucose, oxygen, carbon dioxide and water. So this is a word equation and this one is a chemical equation. If you remember, I was talking about if the formulas we are writing, it will be called as a chemical reaction or the equation. Why we call it as an equation? Because both the sides are balanced. Both the sides are balanced. The reactant side and the product sides both are equal in the terms of the atom of individual elements. Further, when we talk about this respiration, it is one of the natural chemical change. Another they have given over here, the carbon dioxide is reacting with the calcium hydroxide and forming a calcium carbonate plus water. Now, we have to write the chemical equation for the above word equation. So if we want to write down, we can write it as a CO2 carbon dioxide plus calcium hydroxide. So CaOH twice just let me write it again so it will be much clear. So we were writing CO2 plus calcium hydroxide giving us calcium carbonate CaCO3 plus water, that is H2O. So this is the formula we have, or the chemical equation we have. Carbon dioxide is reacting with the calcium hydroxide and forming a calcium carbonate plus water. Now further is they have given as another process, that is a photosynthesis. Photosynthesis process already we have studied in a previous chapters. It is nothing but what? The change in the plants. Plants goes under the photosynthesis and forms the oxygen. They absorb the carbon dioxide, or they intake the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and in the presence of the sunlight, the green plants, they convert this carbon dioxide into a oxygen, and that reaction they have given over here. You can see over here carbon dioxide with the water in the presence of sunlight. The green plants goes under the process photosynthesis and forms the glucose and oxygen, and that they have written in the chemical equation form, that is CO2 H2O. This is glucose and this is oxygen. Further, as man-made chemical changes, there are the man-made chemical changes. These are the natural chemical changes which we have studied till now, that is the respiration and the photosynthesis. And now the next what we have to study is the man-made chemical changes. The chemical changes which are made by or performed by or done by the human beings. So in that, the combustion of a fuels. Combustion of a fuels means the different kind of a fuels like a coal, petrol, diesel, kerosene. This all the fuels what we have. When we burn them, they all are the rich sources of the carbon, and when we burn them, it forms the oxide of it, the carbon dioxide. So that reaction they have given over here, the carbon reacting with the oxygen forming a carbon dioxide. So that is a C. I'll just zoom it out. So it is a carbon oxygen forming a carbon dioxide. Another is a cleaning shower tile with dilute hydrochloric acid. This shower tile is nothing but the marbles. So to clean that marble, we can use a dilute hydrochloric acid, because this shower tile is nothing but the calcium carbonate, and when it reacts with the acid, that is a dilute hydrochloric acid, it forms the calcium chloride with the carbon dioxide gas and water. So that also they have given over here, that is a calcium carbonate, hydrochloric acid forming a calcium chloride plus carbon dioxide and water. So if you want, you can write down this as a CaCO3 plus HCl. It will be dilute, and it gives us calcium carbonate, that is CaCO3 plus CO2 and H2O. So this is what we have is the chemical equation for it, that is calcium carbonate reacting with the hydrochloric acid forming the calcium carbonate with the carbon dioxide and water. Next one is a softening of hard water. Softening of a hard water. In this also what happened, the calcium chloride present in the water can be treated with the sodium carbonate, and it's forming the calcium carbonate along with the sodium chloride, that is the common salt. So this is about chemical reaction in the softening of the water. So in the next video, we are going to talk about the chemical bond, that is the other part of the chapter.